Greetings, my people. Greetings, my people. I greet you in the words of BB Fahodier. Let's see if my mic works. Turn my mic up. Hang on 1 second. How y'all doing? It's been a minute since I've done a video. A lot has been happening. Hello, hello. Okay. Um, I greet you in the words of a BB Fahodier. How I always greet you. Um, today is what's today? Today is August 5th. Friday, August 5th, 2022, 7:57 p.m. And I entitled this Establishing a Code of Honor. Um, I want to talk about a few things, as obviously. A lot of times we say we got to come together, right? We say we got to come together. We have to start making changes. We use a lot of fancy words. And I often ask, I say, well, what does come together look like? What does it entail? And so much of us, we say there's a black code, black code, blah, 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 this, that, and that. Um, it's not more so a black code. It has to start being a code of honor. And a lot of times we always say, okay, what's the consequence? We like to look at other cultures and we like to understand in certain cultures, um, there's a consequence for certain things. Different rules, different, apply for different people. Obviously, the world is looking at Brittany Griner. The law of the land there is different from American laws of the land. Okay, so there's a consequence for things. And a lot of times, why we can't get things done as a black people, well, hey, and what we have to understand that at the part of the game we're in now, it's not always about a denomination. Because the same jacked up things that's happening in the African community happens in the Hebrew Israelite community, happens in the Muslim Islamic community, happens in the Jewish community. Maybe a little different there, may not. Happens in the Christian, so and a lot of times, I don't like when people like put down the youth or say, look at the youth. The youth are byproducts of who? Us, right? So if they don't understand how to, a lot of times we leave our children like to hang. They don't know how to solve problems because issues have to be solved, correct? So a lot of times our children can't really discern or render great judgment or establish things because the parents 9 times out of 10 waver and don't establish things. And a lot of times, well, not a lot of times. Let's say questions I would like to ask for anything. What is the let's just say, okay, I know I said a code of honor, but let's just say a black code. What is the consequence for someone that messes with a child? And like I said, this is not denominational. This is for all. What is the overall consequence? What is the overall consequence for a dude that's putting his hands and beating up on a female? Who does that female call? Who does that male call? Um, who helps out? I want to ask that question because there's a lot of people. I was gonna say, where do people go when they're hungry? But a lot of times, we catch the wave of feeding the people, but we have to understand the Trinity, the mind, the body, and the spirit. So we have to understand how to feed people's minds and spirits just like we feed their bodies. But in this code of honor, one thing I kind of hate is like this kind of bro code to where we see it. Because keeping the thing right, not denominational. This goes to conscious, unconscious. Because there was just as many conscious, so-called conscious brothers that were spewing this Eurocentric way of thinking that the deceased Kevin Samuels. And it was just as many brothers from all denominations that agreed with his rhetoric. Now, he had some truth, much like Donald Trump. He had some truth, but there's always truth sprinkled in bull. You get what I'm saying? This kind of like misogynistic way of thinking. I always say I get kind of worried about where we're going in the future as far as like with masculinity. Because as we see the paradigm shift that's happening, it's starting to look like brothers, y'all dudes don't like women. It's starting to look like the females don't like brothers. It's starting to look like black don't like black. Or whatever you want to call yourself. Hey, when your skin is like this, I'm not going to argue with y'all over words. That's one thing we want to do. We want to say, well, I don't call myself black. But do you call yourself honorable? So it's like in this establishing this, we have to establish a way to discern things. I always talk about discernment, right? The gods or your spiritual intuition, it gives you a discernment, right? When we say something told me I shouldn't have went down that road. What is the for us that those of us that say we don't believe in dating outside our race or sleeping outside of our race, what is the consequence? And the first thing we think, because we have that post-traumatic slave syndrome in certain aspects when it comes to us, in certain aspects we don't. We think just like our programmers. Right? So we always think something physical. It's not always physical. Sometimes it's showing solidarity and say, hey man, you can't come here. We have to learn how to get comfortable with uninviting people to the party. We have to get comfortable with being us and loving us. So much we have to hide ourselves. We have to make people respect our views. We allow people to tell us because we say we want to stay with our own that we can't even really say that open. But these big corporations, these fat cats, these Tommy Hilfiger, Tom Fords, Gucci, Prada, Louis, whoever, all of them that's not us, they have the right. And guess what? We honor their right. The Muslim community, I'm not talking about the black Muslims. The Indian community, they want to stay within them. And there's consequences. But we have to learn how to set boundaries for ourselves. Right? We talk rhetoric. We have so many fancy speakers that's not really saying nothing. There's no conduct. Nobody wants to speak on Dr. Umar Johnson. That brother doesn't listen. That's not real Pan-Africanism. Real Pan-Africanism isn't boastful. Want you to call him Big Papa. What I'm talking to is my village of people. I'm talking to everybody to say, what is your code of honor? How do you assess the R. Kelly situation? Yeah, I'm African, but it affects my everyday people that look like me. It affects the everyday sister or young girl that's going to ultimately grow up to be a woman with those issues. Just like a brother that has been touched on. He's going to grow up. That's just like Raz B. That's just like those boys that Eddie Long was messing with. But see, we get caught up in the schisms and the well, and then we start to rationalize like the European and say, well, they wanted it. When they did stuff to our ancestors, they told us, well, hey, they wanted it. She's over sexualized anyway. That's why we have to be careful how we market ourselves. It's no coincidence that they market our women as the biggest whores and sluts psychologically to market that to young girls to keep us in this perpetual cycle of whoredom, niggerism. And meanwhile, we have people that play with ideologies. There is no code of honor. There is no, we're not holding the line. We waver the line if that's our partner, if that's our homegirl, if that's our family. We have to, this message is for brothers and sisters who really see and feel what I'm talking about and know that something has to be done intelligently. We have to come together and start thinking, how can we solve issues? What do we do about those things I named? When somebody's messing with a child, how do we deal with that as a collective of people? Do we remember when the gymnast Larry Nassar was brought to trial? Go back and watch that. How I think her name, the white girl was named Michaela Maroney. Like I always said, I've spoke about this on past videos. You have apologists for rapists and pedophiles in every section, in every culture, because that's the sickness of the human flesh, the human mind that has been contaminated, to where we rationalize and say that it was the parents' fault. And then we further pass the buck and say, well, what about the ones in y'all family? That should too be dealt with. But that's why we don't see a problem with it, because it's never been dealt with in our family. Back to my original point, we've never seen anything be done about problems. So therefore, we think those problems are okay. We know it's wrong, but we're like, hey, what can we do? That's how it's always been. But what is the code of honor is what this video is about. Why are black males so comfortable sitting on the internet just arguing and being combative with the black woman? Why is the black woman so comfortable with just being combative and arguing with the black male? Why are we constantly arguing with each other? By whose design was this? This is not pointing the finger, because in certain ways we're both to blame. But us as the masculine energy, we have to be the ones to set it right. We always say we're the leaders, we're the strongest physically. So therefore, we have to undo this niggerization that was brought to us of high value men. I'm not saying for us not to value ourselves, because like I always ask my lady friends, who deals with the females that have done you dirty? And the reason why those brothers think the way they think. But what I'm saying to them is that we can't continue to think like that. We can't continue to push the misogyny that was indoctrinated in us. Y'all can't continue to keep pushing the feminism that was indoctrinated in you. Because at the helm of our strength was the black family. And they knew once they divided that, they knew once they removed black males out of the home, that the women were easy pickings. You get what I'm saying? What is the honor code? We throw words around, treason. We throw these words around. But what do they mean? What does honor mean? It's time we give the white man his mind back of thinking that it's okay to cheat and dog out the woman that you want to stay by your side while you do these things. To down talk and humiliate the masculine energy and tell them how worthless it is. It's time for us as a people. I'm not talking to one person, but I am hitting home to my brothers. We are the masculine energy. Dig what I'm saying? We are the ones they look to. This go for anybody, whether you in the NBA, this can go for anybody. There's an agenda with us putting on dresses where they want to see us in our most weakest, craziest state. We watch shows like P Valley and expect to discern things clearly. Half of us don't even know what straight men sound like anymore. So I just wanted to do a video. I hope this video gets shared. Hit in the comments and let me know what you think. I leave you how I greeted you in the words of a BB Fahodier. African liberation for African people. Peace.